Hi guys, it's Joey. So after a very stressful weekend, very stressful weekend, I'm back, and this video is going to be called either End Cycles or Death Cycles or both. And it's probably going to be a reasonably raw video because I am going through one of these right now, and it's hard, and there are a lot of people who are going through different versions of an end cycle themselves, and I'm going to explain a little bit about what I mean by an end cycle or a death cycle first, and then broach why I've decided to make this video, and then go on from there. I have got notes because my brain has been a little bit thrown by everything that's happened to me, and I will talk about what's happened to me in very broad terms, non-specifics as much as I can. And I had debated whether or not to make this video at all, but decided in the end it was better for me to let people know what's going on, and hopefully maybe it will help someone else. So I'm no stranger to end cycles, death cycles, having walked the path of the Morrigan, and I'm still walking the path of the Morrigan. She quite often throws these things into sharp relief for us to grow from the pain. And like the tarot card of death, it's often not the physical death of a loved one or a life walker, as I will refer to them, someone who has walked your life path with you. It can be a physical death, but it doesn't have to be a physical death to count as a death cycle, an end cycle. It's the end of one thing and the beginning of something else. It could be even like the end of something that's not to do with people, but to do with people leaving your life, people coming in, these general things. I'm quite choked up, so apologies, and I will be sipping water throughout because I'm still quite raw. Okay, so why talk about it? It seems completely relevant to a lot of people at the moment, including myself. And I'm going to take some time right here to offer my sincerest condolences to those people who have lost a life walker, be they, on two legs or more, be they a furry friend or a humanoid friend, even if they're, people who have physically lost someone, and there have been a few this weekend. I don't know what it is about this certain time period. Suddenly there seems to have been an awful lot of death cycles, a lot of endings of certain people. People's lives have ended, and people are in a great deal of pain, and I offer my heart goes out to you, to the people who have lost whomever they be, whether they be family, whether they be friend, whether they be human, whether they be fur friend. It's still painful no matter what, and my heart goes out. It does. I can't say any more than that because everybody goes through their pain in their own way. Everyone suffers to their own way, and I can offer my heartfelt sympathies, but I'm not going to try and I don't know how, I can't fully relate to how you feel pain the same way you can't fully relate to how I feel pain, but my sympathies are there. Okay, so the first major point coming from that, of course, is the not to compare or judge people's pain. No matter what the end cycle may be, whether it be a physical death, whether it be emotional death, things that cause people pain are personal to that person's life experience. You can't say this person is suffering less than this, but like they're somehow less deserving of sympathy and assistance and support, that nobody is any less deserving of anything than anyone else. I also would argue here that if someone is going through something, it's probably best not to add to their stresses. So, be kind. Don't add to it, So what I have actually been going through is not a physical death, it's the loss of a friend who isn't a friend anymore. And had been a real life friend, nothing to do with YouTube, for somewhere between 12 and 15 years. I don't know exactly how long it was, a long time. And we'd gone through a lot together, and I had thought we had reached the point where we had supported each other through some really serious stuff that I thought it meant more than that, and it didn't, apparently, because I didn't cut it all off. We had an argument about something spiritual and non-spiritual in nature, and I stood up for something which I believed in. I think that person was expecting me to back down, and because I didn't, they cut me out of their life completely, and then added something which I'll discuss in a minute, which basically means that I was then done, because they used so they knew about all my most personal traumas of my life and used those to insult me and hurt me, purely and simply to hurt me. And they did. That's another point I'm going to hit on in a minute. Yeah, so we can talk about this a little bit, right? So there were insults thrown in the beginning, as they reacted to something that I had said I didn't find appropriate. And I don't feel the need to go into all of that, because I don't feel the need to justify that I believe in something, and I have no issue, which they claimed I did, but I don't, no issue with anyone not believing in anything. My attitude towards other faiths has always been, as long as you're not hurting anybody, fair enough. But when you start insulting people of different beliefs and things, as long as no one is physically hurting anybody or anything else, I don't have a problem with that. Or emotionally hurting, or just hurting other people. And I got criticised for that viewpoint, insulted for that viewpoint. And up until this point, I was just willing to sort of acknowledge that both people had been maybe overly passionate. I had been very careful in my wording. I'd had the gnome check what I was saying, because I didn't want to be release any words that were specifically insulting towards a state of belief or non-belief. And the gnome checked over it, and I checked over it, and we're like, okay. I did not at any point say that not believing was wrong. I did say I found the post in question, it was on Facebook, to lack empathy for anybody else, which I found disgusting. And the post in question basically said that anybody of any belief was less evolved than those who didn't believe in anything. And I found that insulting and horrific. And I made the point that if you took who it was directed at and changed it to a person of a certain race, a person of a certain sexual preference, a person of a certain gender, if you changed it to be directed at anybody else, the world would have come down on you, because it would have been intolerance against. It would have either been racism or sexism or homophobia, all things that this person would have found horrific. At that point, they insulted me personally with my most traumatic life experiences. So I don't normally speak about my most traumatic life experiences, but I'm going to give 2 examples here about my mother and why I cut her out of my life, which will matter in a minute. There had been a whole family history of her being physically, verbally and emotionally abusive towards me, towards my middle sister as well. And there are so many examples I could give you, from some of my earliest memories to my last memories. I went into counselling because of her and other reasons, but she has damaged my emotional well-being in so many ways, and so ways that I am working through even now, that it still hurts me. So I'm going to give 2 examples of this, and then as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to talk about her anymore because she's not worth my breath. But I just want to put this in context for why this is a death cycle of this friendship for me. Not with my mother, with this woman who used this against me. So the first example is that I'm just looking at something, 1 second. Yeah. I haven't got makeup on today for a very specific reason, and I don't know if you could, that's a mole, but above there's a little red mark, and there is one here. I don't think you can see the higher up one. Yep, sort of just there. Those are permanent marks on my face where my mother attacked me with a metal quality street tin, you know, the ones with the octagonal shape. She shoved that into my face, and I have permanent marks on my face, and they're only here because I managed to turn my face. So and that's an example of the physical violence I suffered. There was more of it, but that's one at the hands of my mother. The other example is not what she did to me, but something I found repulsive, which is both of my sisters and their children were living with her at one point, and the children were then 6 or 7 months old and 2 years old. And one of my sisters had had an argument with my mother's boyfriend, and she, in response, threw both sisters and both children out onto the street. And they, at that point, had to go into hostel and find housing. The hostel people and the caregiving people rang my mother something like, I say my mother, she doesn't deserve the title, five or six times, saying would she take them back? Would she take them back until they could find them alternate housing so they weren't in a hostel with all the problems that go with that? 6-month-old baby, 2-year-old baby, and her children. No, she wouldn't. There is a whole history. There's so much more than that. There is layers upon layers upon layers of things that she's done to me, that she's done to my sisters, that I don't actually speak to my youngest sister now because some of that escalated with her, where she became aggressive. And this person knows all of this stuff, knows the entire history, knows how much it hurts, and they proceeded to use that and say that now I know why your mother cut you out of her life. Little miss, look down your nose, is pretty much it. And she said this for one reason, and one reason alone, to try and wound me as much as she could. And I have no qualms about saying that it did hurt me. A lot of people have said or suggested the idea that, you know, cut out what's poisonous to you and move on, and if it's a dead branch, cut it off, keep going. And I understand that while they might mean it in a good way, I find that whole notion of just chop and whatever dishonourable. I was and I am heartbroken by the whole situation. It hurt me a great deal. When I first saw the first few insults that were on my wall, I started to be upset, started to cry, and the gnome said, "Come on, come away from it. She'll probably calm down in the morning and it'll be alright." You know, people angry, you know, just. So I went to bed. He stayed with me. I cried my eyes out until it had stopped. But the very next morning is when she then insulted me with my most personal traumatic things, which I would never do to anybody. I found it so horrible. It's choking me up right now. That was the line, unfortunately. She had then cut me out of her life anyway, through all the friendship away before that point, and then at that point blocked me. And unfortunately, I've also had people say to me, "Well, let me be a mediator. Let's make up." And my answer to that, and this is for anyone going through something similar, you know, even if it's just a breakup, right, which I forgot to mention, that breakups with people can be an example of an end cycle, that's the most dangerous thing you can do, because you are not addressing the problem, just trying to put a band-aid on something that's ripped apart. And for me, once she had used my most personal experiences against me, and my sister went nuts when she heard she'd done that, my sister and my gnome have been my support system. They've been amazing. Once she'd done that, she crossed the line, and after that point, I don't know if I'm going to be able to forgive it. And I know that when I have overcome the grief period, if I can forgive it, I can never ever forget that was used against me, and trust from that point is shattered. And it hurt me so much, so much. It really did. And shaking now. Oh God. I wrote down something. Hang on. It might be easier. Okay. The truth might be harder to acknowledge, but it is more honourable. I can say, you know, oh, I can cut that person out of my life, they don't deserve it, and people have said those things, you know, she obviously doesn't deserve your friendship, yada yada yada. Doesn't make it any easier. Somebody who is supposed to be in your life for that length of time, you're invested, and I can post all the things about cutting dead branches I want. It doesn't make me feel any better. It doesn't make me a better person. It doesn't. It just hurts even more. You know. I'm not afraid to say I've lost something. Now. I can't now. Up to a certain point, I could have worked it out. Like some of the minor insulting bits were irritating, and just her slinging insults at me, and I was very careful that I wasn't being insulting as far as what I had written. As far as I was concerned, she took offence at a certain point, but I went back and read it, and the gnome was like, "I know what you meant." Other people said they know what I meant, and she took it more personally than I had said it. I didn't say anything insulting. I didn't call any names. Because that's not going to make me feel any better. I feel like hell, and I'm just I'm happy to say that to the world. It devastated me. I think I cried. The next day was Friday, and the gnome stayed at home. He was so worried. And I think if he hadn't, my sister would have been on the phone all day, because I was just crying my eyes out for most of the day, between crying my eyes out and numb, you know. Try not to cry now. And it felt like grief and mourning and loss, the same way as if I had physically, and in some ways it was worse than physically losing a person, because there was venom, and when you physically lose someone, there isn't venom. So the next point is about devaluation of personal power that comes with all death cycles. When it's physical death, it's out of your hands, so you feel that loss of control. And when it's emotional death of a friend or a partner, they may well seek to harm you as much as they can out of anger or spite or hate, by insults, gossiping, theft of items. I had that with an ex, etc. The best thing to do is not to trade your self-respect and sinking to that negative mudslinging level. I've also already mentioned the makeup as the making up as soon as possible is a bad idea. There's often a lot of pressure on people to forgive what people say in arguments. Oh, they said it in anger, so it doesn't mean anything. Well, you can. I've been plenty angry throughout this whole. Well, not really, to be fair. I don't know if anger is going to come later, if it is going to come. At the minute, I'm just deeply, deeply hurt, and I'm trying to. I don't know. I'm trying to cope. I'm trying to mourn. I don't think it's going to be something you can just get over, because it deeply hurt me, and I'm alright to say that. A lot of people take this attitude when they fall out with someone, or when they break up with a person, or when they lose someone. I think it's more emotional reactions rather than physical end cycles that get this. It's more the emotional ones, like breakups and things. Like, they try to devalue the person, they try to make out that it doesn't matter, that it doesn't hurt, that F them, basically. And I think it's not a good idea. I think it's harmful, and to you and them. And why devalue anything you had? I mean, it might deeply hurt you, but it doesn't mean that there weren't points in your history that were meaningful and meant a lot to you, and might even still mean a lot to you down the line. This friend had been there for me in some of the most deeply troubling points of my life, and they supported me, and I'm never going to be ungrateful for that. I'm never going to devalue what they did at that point. What they have done to me just now, Friday, it doesn't wipe out what they did do before. It puts me in a situation of terrible pain. And a lot of people seem to think that if they behave flippantly, like it doesn't matter, and F them, and I don't know, maybe they think they're going to feel better. You're not going to feel better. And why lie? That's been my thing for a long, long time. Why lie? It hurts. And when I say it hurts, I have a physical pain in my chest, which has been with me since it happened. And what else did I want to mention about end cycles? Because this is me talking about how I'm coping in the hope that it might help other people coping. I'm in pain at the minute, and I will probably move through that. Hexing. Okay, some other people who have been through certain situations, you know, there is that suggestion that you use magic. You hex the bitch is a term I've heard, and no. Apart from anything, you should take rest from all magical workings while you're in a state of emotional turmoil. Your energy isn't going to be focused anyway. You're only going to be depleting your energy that you don't really have to begin with. I'm taking it easy. She says, making one of the hardest videos she's ever made. I wouldn't use magic against anybody like this. I understand that some people in their angry stage might think it's a good idea, but I don't. Like I said, you know, it's that anger lash out reaction. I understand why people have that angry lash out reaction, whether they've been disrespected, whether they've been deeply hurt, and it just comes out as anger. I understand, but for me to put my magic and my intention into something to harm somebody, just, you know, it's like, when does that end? You know, I don't believe in that. I just don't believe in it. I'm trying to find a way of putting into why you shouldn't hex into death cycles. Death cycles, end cycles are necessary for one reason or another. Working with the Morrigan, it becomes more and more apparent about how things end. And I've always had trouble with things ending. You know, I've always felt quite deeply the pain of something ending, even if it's just a point in your life. And then, you know, you're moving on to another point. Like when I left school, or when I left a certain university, and you know that everything's going to never be the same again. I always had a problem with that. I always felt like, I'm going to and I've had to increasingly learn how to cope with moving into new cycles and try and find the excitement factor of moving into a new cycle rather than suffering the loss completely of an old one. And we will suffer loss, and it's okay to suffer loss. It's okay to feel that pain. That's okay. And I think that's the main message of this video, is it's okay to hurt with these end cycles. In my meditations that I've tried to do, the Morrigan, I cried my eyes out and I was like, it hurts. And she said, wounds do. They heal. So I'm going to wrap up before I get myself into a right state, starting to, by thanking everybody who has been there and supported me. The gnome has been amazing. The whole video is because he took me to a pagan shop, and people might not understand, but he goes like this when we go near a pagan shop, because I'm like, one of these, one of these, one of these, and he was just like, go get whatever you want. And so that's how worried he was, you know. He wanted me to have a little happy time in an environment which I just defended, you know, my spiritual belief. And we ate a load of bad food, which we shouldn't have done. But fortunately, my healthy eating diet hasn't completely gone out the window, because at the minute I haven't gone down, but I haven't gained either. So fingers crossed that if I go back to my healthy eating, I'll be alright for Thursday. And he took the day off and he stayed with me on Friday, and he's coming home at lunch today to check on me. And he has been amazing. My sister, whom I love more than words, she's my soul sister as well as my blood sister. I mean, she says the daftest things to cheer me up, and she supported me, and she actually stayed reasonably calm, which I'm surprised at. She's grown a lot, because a few years ago she would have gone ape crazy, but she sent an email to this person without me knowing, and I was like, what are you doing? She's like, nothing. And I'm like, you're quiet, what are you doing? And she was like, sent an email after, and I was like, oh god. But she was reasonably controlled, I think, from what she told me. But she supported me. I mean, I'm really lucky that I went to see her on Saturday, and that had been foreplanned because it's my nephew's 4th birthday. And there's something joyous about that. It managed to take my mind off it because he was so excited about all his gifts. The highlight of the weekend is that for me. I was in the kitchen and I was helping my sister cook, and I could hear a 4-year-old and the gnome, who's 40, playing with action figures and making a story up between them, and it was adorable. It was so cute, and it cheered me up no end. And then we went to that pagan shop, and that was nice. We had a few bumps in Nottingham with seeing people, but universe making things easy. And then yesterday I just took it easy. So thank you to my sister and my gnome, and to everybody, particularly people on Facebook who are my friends, will know all about the situation anyway. And I've had some wonderful messages and some real support, and it made a lot of difference. So a big thank you at the end to everybody who got in contact with me. And October did a ritual, which was lovely, to send me some healing energies and love energies just to prop me up a bit. And the Morrigan has been there every step, all the way down to my sister's. There were crows. Every time I looked out the window there were crows and ravens. My nephew had found crow feathers, I think they are, out in the garden and saved them for me. She's been there every step of the way. So to everybody who offered me messages and things of that nature, thank you so much. There are a lot of death cycles around at the minute. End cycles, death cycles, however you want to see them. And if my belief in empathy for people's belief in anything has rung any resonation with anybody, please take it away that when people are going through these end cycles, and a lot of people seem to be going through these end cycles right now, they need support. They don't need extra hate, they don't need extra insults, they don't need gossiping, rumour mongering, or extra troubles laid on them. They need time to heal and rest. So be considerate to one another, basically. And that is going to be it for this video. I have another Pagan Dreams parcel coming, so I can make some more candles and things when I start to feel a little bit better. I will probably video that on the video camera and upload it tonight or tomorrow or something, when the gnome is back. Yeah. I think I should add at the end why I actually decided to make this video, because I was in two minds. I meant to mention this at the beginning, completely spaced brain. I've written it down as well, which shows you how not with it I am. I talked to my sister about it, about whether or not I should make it, and sort of voice my feelings. Like, this is personal. The person in question had ranted at me for trying to censor them, which I wasn't trying to do. I just thought it was horrible. And before, some months ago, every single morning when I woke up, and because my morning routine is like this: get up, sit down at the computer, flick through Facebook, and have a cup of coffee until my brain's up. Every single morning I was coming, and there was something else. Something posted, religion is poison, religion is hate, that religion is less evolved, religion is lesser than us. And every morning it was making me pissed off first thing in the morning, and we talked about it. And I had already discussed it with her. And she brought that up. Like, since then I have been censoring myself, and I find these sorts of things funny. And I was like, I don't know when you don't post something. I had assumed that we had that conversation and that was all that was needed. I didn't realise that this was then a problem, so maybe this had been escalating since then and I hadn't realised. because I thought once the discussion, you know, she said that she was okay with everything at that point. And in one of her insults she said I was trying to censor her and I was being haughty, because she knows I worry about being coming across as haughty, because I am partially spoken and some people take that the wrong way, and I'm knowledgeable and some people take that the wrong way, and I'm strong in my beliefs and some people take that the wrong way. So in the end, why did I decide to make this video? You know, some people would be like, it's deeply personal, maybe you shouldn't have shared so much, and I decided to share this because, one, there is an awful lot of people going through similar cycles right now, death cycles, end cycles, and I wanted to put out some points, some discussion, things like, okay, I'm going through it too. My heart goes out to those people who physically lost a companion of some kind. To put out the message that people need to, you know, you don't judge someone's pain, because and things that are and aren't helpful, in my opinion, of things you can say and whatnot. I ummed and ahed about it, but like, she was ranting on about her right to post whatever the F she wanted on her wall, and I didn't get a chance to respond to that, which my response to that is, you have every right to post hate on your wall if you want, but I have every right to complain about it, in that line of argument. So I decided to post this because I'm leaching the poison out of me. I'm letting people on YouTube who care, and there are people through YouTube who I know who I've been good friends with, and people who I value who I might not have on Facebook as well, that I just want you to know what's going on. Like, people have wondered why maybe I haven't done reviews for them, or I haven't responded to certain things. I've tried to keep on top of responding to things. This is why. I just don't have an awful lot of energy right now. You can probably tell. I look like a mess. And I think it's important not to be bullied into silence. And by anybody, and it's not the situation in specific is someone trying to bully me into silence. It's just that I think that in the right way to speak out about certain issues is important. What's not right is insulting and throwing jabs and insults and using deep personal traumas as insults and all the rest of it. That's not breaking the silence of bullying. That's continuing a negative cycle rather than breaking one. So that's going to be it. I'm going to stop. I think I've said everything I can say in a constructive manner, and if I say much more, I don't want to devolve because I believe in something. There you go. There we go. I'm going to devolve if I carry on. I'm going to find the annoyance, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go away. I'm probably going to go cry some more now. I think I've covered everything I want to, so I might be quiet this week. I'm sure people can understand that if I am, so many blessings.